The Curse of Novruz, Chapter 1. The Village Legend. In a small Azerbaijani village hidden among the mountains, people eagerly awaited Novruz Bayrama every year. It was a celebration of spring, joy, and new life. However, the village elders knew that this time of renewal also carried an ancient curse. The old folks spoke of Gers, a dark spirit that appeared before the holiday and took those who disrespected traditions. No one knew where the legend came from, but every spring, a deep-rooted fear settled over the village. The younger generation didn't believe in such tales. Among them was Elshan, a 17-year-old boy who thought all these stories were nonsense. He laughed at his grandmother's warnings, ignored his father's advice, and told his friends, "These are just fairy tales for cowards. No spirit has ever taken anyone, and it never will." His best friend, Tural, was skeptical too, but preferred not to take risks. It's easier to follow traditions. Why provoke fate? But Elshan wanted to prove nothing bad would happen if he broke the rules. Chapter 2. The first Chersenbe Novruz had 4 sacred Tuesdays, Chersenbu, each symbolizing one of the 4 elements: water, fire, air, and earth. On the first Chersenbe, village children had to fetch water from the stream to purify their homes. Elshan's grandmother told him to go with the other boys, but he refused. "What a stupid tradition. I'd rather stay home and play on my phone." That evening, strange sounds echoed in the house. Something was softly scratching against the wooden walls. His grandmother crossed herself and whispered prayers, but Elshan just smirked. That night, he had a terrifying dream. He was standing in complete darkness, and before him loomed a tall, black figure with an empty face. A deep voice whispered from the void, "You rejected water. Now water rejects you." Elshan woke up drenched in cold sweat. Chapter 3. The second Chersenbe. The following Tuesday was dedicated to fire. People lit tonkals, bonfires, and jumped over them to cleanse their souls. Elshan refused to participate. "You're all acting like savages jumping over flames. Fire is just fire, nothing mystical about it." That night, he heard crackling outside his window. Looking into the darkness, he saw a bonfire suddenly ignite in a neighbor's yard, without a single spark or ember. For a split second, the flames revealed the same shadowy figure from his dream. Then, a knock at the window, slow, deliberate. "You rejected fire. Now fire rejects you." Elshan screamed, but when his parents rushed in, there was nothing outside. Chapter 4. The third Chersenbe. The next Tuesday was dedicated to air. Children flew semine kites, jumping off rooftops onto soft ground, while the elders gathered to honor their ancestors. Again, Elshan refused. "I won't take part in this ridiculous ritual." That night, the wind rose over the village. It was stronger than usual, carrying strange whispers through the air. Outside his window, the black figure stood even closer. "You rejected air. Now air rejects you." Elshan couldn't sleep that night. Chapter 5. The fourth Chersenbe. The final Tuesday was dedicated to earth. On this day, people cleaned their yards, planted flowers, and prepared for the festival. Elshan didn't even answer when his grandmother asked him to help. "Let others dig in the dirt. I have better things to do." That night, he heard footsteps in the hallway. The door creaked open, and in the darkness, he saw a shadow. It stood in the doorway, motionless, ominous. "You rejected Earth. Now Earth rejects you." The next morning, Elshan was gone. The villagers searched everywhere, but he had vanished. In front of his house, there was only a deep hole in the ground. Chapter 6. Novruz by Rami. When the main celebration arrived, the entire village gathered in the square. Everyone expected Elshan to appear, but he never did. That evening, his grandmother saw him, or what was left of him. A tall shadow stood among the trees, staring at the bonfires. Its face was empty. The elders whispered that he had become Gurs, the spirit that comes for those who disrespect traditions. And every spring, on the night before Chershenbi, some villagers still hear a whisper in the dark. You rejected the festival. Now you belong to me.